Mermaid, noun, a fictitious or mythical half-human sea creature with the head and trunk of a woman and the tail of a fish, conventionally depicted as beautiful and with long, flowing golden hair. In 2012, the documentary titled Mermaids, The Body Found aired on Animal Planet and the Discovery Channel. The documentary received 3.4 million viewers, making it the most watched program since Steve Irwin's Memorial Special in 2006.
Some scientists believe our ancestors left the forest for the sea. But what pulled them here? What drew them to the water's edge? For now, the aquatic apes must hide. They are not alone here.
Anybody, people.
2006. 1 year later, the sequel, Mermaids, The New Evidence, was released,
where new evidence of mermaids will be revealed.
Oh my God!
Mermaids, The New Evidence.
The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, also known as NOAA, was backed into a corner with demands for more information in regards to mermaids due to the release of the documentary. And they released the following statement on their website, saying that no evidence of aquatic humanoids has ever been found, and that neither NOAA nor its scientists are involved with anything related to this topic. No one from NOAA was involved in making the fictional show, and the person identified as an NOAA scientist was an actor. Now, despite the fictional documentary's own disclaimer that certain events in this film were fiction, the damage had already been done. Some people took it for what it was, but for others, the cat was already out of the bag and the wheels had already been spinning in their head. Now everyone's minds began to wonder.
Oh my God!
What is that?
So what is that creature on top of a rock supposedly captured on film by tourists?
That is not a silhouette!
Oh my God!
Many watching Animal Planet's Mermaids, The New Evidence saw it as proof that mermaids do exist. The show, presented as a documentary, details close encounters with the mythical sea creatures.
Dr. Paul Robertson, welcome.
It even featured guests purporting to be scientists from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. But it was all in the name of entertainment. And it turns out Dr. Robertson is not really a scientist.
And the fact that CNN went out of its way to explain that this documentary was a hoax only sparked those minds even more. Several individuals already assumed the government hid certain truths from us anyway, so this became another point of interest. In this two-part documentary, a possible theory was that aquatic apes were actually mermaids, meaning apes that evolved over time in the deep blue sea were what we came to know as mermaids, in myth and theory, of course. And so recently there's been a lot of talk about mermaids, and various people in my age group has taken to Twitter and all social media to tell both their experience and the experience of other people within their immediate family and their run-ins with mermaids. I'm a habitual comment reader. I don't know about y'all, but every time I see a viral post or a meme, whatever, I click on the original post just so I can go through the comments and see what's going on. So when I did that with this viral thread, I found some very interesting things. I actually saw that there were lots and lots and lots and lots of people that were sharing these experiences. I personally never even heard of this or heard of it from anybody that I knew, and I'm from a place that is on the coast, so this was definitely interesting to me. But I've come to learn from reading these comments and from online that having a run-in with mermaids is a common thing in the Caribbean, especially in Haiti from what I noticed. Now, this piqued my interest because of how wild it was. Now, most of us have been conditioned to think that mermaids are just fictional Disney characters that are nice, pleasant, and beautiful. But from reading these stories and these comments, these mermaids sound more like what we've been taught to call sirens. The creatures that lure you in, usually by their beauty or song, and then when you get close, they turn to ugly creatures and devour you. That is exactly what these mermaid stories sound like. They were horrifying. They were nothing like we were conditioned to believe they were. And that is why I decided to dive deeper into the fact or the myth of these mermaids and these creatures. Now, of course, I might sound crazy, but if you come to think about it, we have been conditioned by mainstream media to believe so many things that are not the truth or half-truths or just pulled the wool straight over our eyes. And it's been going on all of our lives to the point we don't think to even ask common sense questions or to even question what we are told by our mainstream media outlets. And not only our mainstream media outlets, but even our textbooks that we used in schools from K-12. We were never taught to question the validity of these textbooks, but they are not always the truth. Or they don't always dive deeper into certain issues and tell us the truth. Like, the truth of Black people's ancestry does not begin with slavery. There's way more to us. Or the fact that our people were in America way before slavery as well. There's a lot of things. And recently, like, they put in the children's textbooks that the Trail of Tears was something voluntary that the Indians did so the Caucasians could do whatever they want with the land. They made it look like these people volunteered to leave their ancestral and holy land so some strangers can move there. The Trail of Tears is called the Trail of Tears for a reason, children. And it is because it was literally Indians and natives being pillaged, raped, killed, villages set on fire. The lands they knew all their lives and grew up on and their forefathers grew up on was destroyed and ran over by these Caucasian strangers who just wanted to build their own towns and railroads and whatever else plans they had for the future. They made those people move. They were forced out of their land. They did not volunteer. But that is another story. But that's another example of how we don't think to ask questions when we are told by our trusted media outlets and our trusted textbooks, when there are actually real books in the library and real information. If we actually look, these books are older than us and our parents and grandparents. A lot of these books, they are there and they are available, but we don't pick them up because we don't think to question the validity and the solidity of our teachers and our textbooks. Some of them don't even know better, so we can't really blame the teachers. But there are people who do know better that are behind all of this. I like to call them the hidden figures. So yeah, let's jump right into how mermaids are mentioned in so many ancient texts and cultures. So depictions of half human and half fish beings appeared in Mesopotamia, also known as the cradle of civilization, in the old Babylonian era, which occurs between 1894 BC and 1595 BC, where these mermaids are called Kulutu, which translates to fish woman. So Kulutu figurines were used as protective deities that were said to have a special connection to Enki. Enki is the Sumerian god of water, knowledge, mischiefs, crafts, and creation. And he is also known as a member of the Anunnaki. So Enki is specifically said to have ruled over the Abzu, which means the freshwater sea or groundwater located within the earth. At his service were giants, demons of protection, demons of destruction, and the Kulutu, which were mermen and mermaids. The Kulutu lived in the water beneath the city. Now, I mentioned the Abzu. Abzu is synonymous with abyss as well as primeval sea. Now, in ancient Mesopotamian religion, the primeval sea is also known as chaos. And chaos is defined as the void state preceding the creation of the universe or cosmos in Greek creation myths, or to the initial gap created by the original separation of heaven and earth. And the word abyss is called abyssos in the Septuagint, which is the Greek version of the Hebrew Bible. All of this has a lot to do with everything. And when I go into talking about Greek mythology, I do want you to remember that even though today we call this Greek mythology, these people actually during this time worship these gods, and this story was as real to them as whatever religion you are practicing. In the Hebrew Bible itself, the abyss is mentioned in the book of Revelation 6 times, and it is translated in the Hebrew text as being the bottomless pit of hell. Now, if you are into movies, you'll see that there's a lot of movies with the word abyss in it, and it often refers to the deep, 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 deep blue sea. Our first stories of mermaids appear in Assyria around 1000 BC. In Assyria, aka northern Mesopotamia, aka present-day Iran and southeastern Turkey. So here, Atargatis, the mother of the Assyrian queen Semiramis, killed her mortal lover by accident, and then she jumped into a lake, taking on the form of a half fish due to being ashamed. Since she originally jumped into the water and didn't have the form of a fish at the bottom, but that didn't conceal her beauty enough, so there you have it. She decided to take on the form of a fish from the waist down. And here we have our story of our mermaid, which we know of mermaids as half woman, half aquatic creature. And then we have Syrian writer Lucian of Samosata in the 2nd century AD, who claims he actually saw Atargatis in the form of a mermaid in Phoenicia, and he noted how the Phoenicians considered fish to be sacred and they did not eat them because of so. So here Lucian calls Atargatis by Derketo because it is her Grecian name, and you will see a lot of that as I go on. Most of these gods I named throughout these different cultures and religions actually have parallels throughout different cultures, and they are just called by a different name because the language is different. So let me go back to what I was saying about Lucian, and this is what he said in quote. He said, "I saw Derketo's likeness in Phoenicia. It was a strange marvel. It was a woman half its length, but the other half from thighs to feet stretched out in a woman's tail. But the image in the holy city is entirely a woman, and the grounds for their account are not very clear. They consider fish to be sacred, and they never eat them." So in Folklore Collection 1001 Nights, which is actually a collection of tales from ancient and medieval Arabic, Persian, Indian, Greek, Jewish, and Turkish folklore and literature, most notable to date for Aladdin and Sinbad, and is accredited as a pioneer for early science fiction. So here we have mermaids appearing in the tale of Abdullah the fisherman and Abdullah the merman. Abdullah the fisherman gains the ability to breathe underwater and discovers an underwater society that operated without the use of currency or clothing, similar to the way that Native Americans operated previously to colonization. They didn't believe in currency. It was just trading, and the use of clothes was meaningless. It meant nothing to see a woman's body naked. This is how these mermaid people lived, and Abdullah the fisherman and Abdullah the merman. Again, mermaids also make an appearance in the collection and the adventures of Bolikia, when the protagonist of the story goes on a quest for the herb of immortality. And I want you to remember this quest. It doesn't apply here, but you will start to see themes of mermaids in relation to immortality as I proceed. So, when he goes on this quest for the herb of immortality, he literally goes through paradise, he goes through hell, he goes through outer space, and then you guessed it, he goes through the seas where he encounters these mermaids amongst talking serpents and jinns, which are other creatures of legend that have their placements around the world as well. And then, in the beginning of the 1st century, Roman philosopher and military commander, Pliny the Elder, let me just give you a little backstory on him before I proceed. Pliny the Elder is the guy who wrote the world's eldest surviving encyclopedia. So, Pliny the Elder mentions numerous sightings of mermaids off the coast of Gaul. What is Gaul? Where is Gaul? Gaul is now the lands that occupy the present lands of France, Luxembourg, Belgium, most of Switzerland, parts of northern Italy, Netherlands, and Germany. All of those territories made up Gaul back then. He stated that when he saw these mermaids, they were covered in scales and their corpse frequently washed ashore, and he allegedly wrote a letter to Augustus about this account. Homer's work has been described as being mythical. However, Homer also wrote about the city of Troy in the Trojan War, and it ended up being real. In the Odyssey, book 12 to be exact, sirens are mentioned while Odysseus, the protagonist of the Odyssey, is sailing home after the Trojan War. This account is said to have taken place on the west coast of Italy near Naples. So in this story, Odysseus has all his sailors plug their ears with beeswax. He was advised that this was the way to pass through the sirens. Plug your ear with beeswax. He has his men do this, and he was advised by Circe, a sorceress. And of course, it does work, but he then has them to tie him head to toe to the mast of the ship and told them to keep him tied no matter what he says. He is curious and wants to hear the siren song, and I will tell you why later. So of course they go through the enchanted waters, and the siren starts singing, and he starts ordering them to release him. They don't, because he told them not to beforehand. And then he hears the song, and the ship passes through the enchanted waters. After this, it's said that the sirens were rumored to have died because the legend was that if someone was to survive hearing the song of the sirens themselves would perish. And then we have Emily Wilson. Emily Wilson is the first woman to translate the Odyssey into English. Emily Wilson made some very, very interesting facts about Odysseus' encounter with the sirens. One was that they aren't sexy in a physical sense, and they're not seductive in a physical sense. They were seductive through their knowledge. That is how they lured Odysseus in, by claiming to know about his past and everything else on earth. They hold secrets, and that is what enchanted him. So, there's also the fact that modern translation of the Odyssey, translated by men, said that the sirens sung a honey song from their lips. The original text translates to mouths, but previous texts translated them to lips because it sounds kissable and it sounds sexy. Mouths could be frightening, like your head going into the mouth of an alligator. Lips is less frightening, and in the Odyssey, mouth is commonly associated with beasts, monsters, and creatures. This just lets us know that sirens are a part of that class. So back to these Greek epic poems. In another Greek epic poem called Argonauta, I'm sure y'all have heard of Jason and the Argonauts. Okay, this is Argonauta. It tells of the Argonauts sailing through the same enchanted waters that Odysseus went through, and on board they have a musician named Orpheus. Orpheus sings throughout the whole entire ordeal of the sirens singing to block the sirens out. Orpheus lived to tell about the account and noted that the siren songs were indeed sweet, but they were also very saddening. Let's get into something that I would like to think is more interesting, and that is Lamia. In Greek mythology, she had an affair with Zeus, and when Zeus's wife Hera found out, Hera murdered all of Lamia's children, which of course changed Lamia into an evil-spirited being who sought after others to feel her pain, so she in return hunted and murdered other people's kids. And she also had shape-shifting abilities. And you guessed it, she was also a mermaid. Lamia is depicted as half woman, half serpent. Some people actually associate her with being Lilith. Lilith was actually Adam's first wife in the Garden of Eden, who got cast out because she was the little baby that didn't listen. But Lilith is associated with haunting and murdering children as well. And then of course, people link her with being Lamia because of the whole serpent attribute, and the ability to be a seductress comes from the fact that people assume Lilith was also the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Lamia became known as the boogeyman, which is funny because they say that the word lullaby actually comes from Lilith's name. Originally, lullabies were sung as songs to protect the children from the scary spirit and demon. Lamia makes her appearance in several Greek stories, and she is often referred to as Lamia of Libya, as she was the daughter of King Belus of Egypt and Queen Libby of Libya.